Welcome back to another Ab Summer Target with Hockey Coach Francis directly for a beautiful country of Thailand. An amazing, great Thursday night already, June 5th, 2025. Tonight, I'm not alone. We have Mr. Frank back in the house. Hopefully, you have an amazing, great week so far, Mr. Frank.
Yeah, good to be back, Coach. Thanks for having me. Absolutely. It's been nice and warm here in Quebec. A little muggy today, but nice and warm for sure. So, been working around the pool, trying to get the summer backyard going and enjoying the hot weather while we can.
Busy time right now for sure for you to work on from the NHL draft. That's the reason we invite you. And that's the reason tonight we're going to talk a little bit more about the 2025 NHL draft. What do you know about what could be a selection of overall the first round in the NHL? And definitely we're going to talk about the pick number 16, number 17, for what we hear the last couple of days around the team. We know right now we're in the Buffalo. They have an NHL scouting combine. The top player are right there to make some fun tests and many interviews. Montreal Canadiens is really represented by many people over there. And I'm sure you have some kind of information to deliver to us tonight, Frank, about what's going on with the Montreal Canadiens. But we're not only talking about the NFL draft tonight. We're going to do a little bit more an overview of what's going on with the NHL. Honestly, the next 2 weeks we're going to do NHL draft mock draft with two, three people all together, and that will be that night. So tonight we're only talking about what are the options, and definitely more about the Montreal Canadiens, about the 12 pick they have. Definitely they're not going to draft 12 different players. I expect Montreal to make some kind of move at some point. So that's the reason Frank is with us. So thanks to be with us. Before we start, we'll welcome everybody, if you don't mind, to check around what's going on. We have a few people around. Billy is already in the house. Samuel knocked the door. Welcome back, Samuel. Mr. Florida Panthers back in the house. I don't know where you at tonight. You changed your location around the world in the last couple of weeks, Mr. Florida. Big fan of the Panthers. We talk about Marner. We have also Sam the Man is in the house tonight. Followed by MSU Detroit fan. Welcome back. A lot of things going on with MSU. He's a big fan of the NCAA and of course the Detroit Red Wings. A lot of things happening with Michigan State at the Michigan World War Rhines, Mr. MSU. So I don't know if you have any update about what's going on. Please sharing with us in the chat. That'd be great to hear from you. Samuel talk about possible Pavel Zaka with the Boston Bruins. We'll see. PLW is back in the house. We'll see what we got tonight for him. You go with Mr. Dort for the OKC. The final NBA start tonight, game number 1. And PLW, of course, is going to follow the two players from the Quebec province of Quebec play in the final of the NBA. PLW, hopefully, you feel better. PL is a little bit on the injury list right now with some kind of some not illness, maybe with illness, whatever we want to call it. Hopefully, you feel better. PL ready to rock and roll. Mr. PLW. Roger is in the house tonight. Welcome back for Vermont. And MSCU hockey came very good. CHL prospect getting a commitment from Anthony Romani and Caden Lindstrom. And that's the last news today. Caden Lindstrom decided to quit the Medicine Hat to the Michigan. So great to hear that. MSU. Yeah, other players, honestly. They hit the Michigan. I think I got today Reshny. And oh my God, another player also in the draft is going to be at Michigan, first round pick, another one today, so I cannot remember. But anyway, we'll see what happening. So great to hear that. Augustine and Isaac Award are returning one more year. Wow. If it's the case, that's 3 years minimum for Isaac Award. I know Isaac Award have some kind of problem negotiation with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So this could be the same level, Frank, about who was last year for the Winnipeg Jet.
It was not Snuggerud, it was McGroarty.
Yeah, exactly.
But
So finally they trade him to the Pittsburgh Penguins for Yager, I believe it's Yager.
Yeager, yeah, Brendan Yeager, yeah.
There you go. So the rumor was about the same situation with Isaac Award. Possible they could be that way with that. The goaltender Augustine, that's normal. Normally goaltenders still with there. RJ Calabo knocked the door. So welcome everybody. Thanks for being part of the show. Don't forget, please, to click on the like, subscribe, and become a member. We have a goal for October 9 to get 100 member of the channel. $1.99, $2.99. It's not expensive for the quality of what we bring to you every single day. And don't forget, Saturday night we do the first Major League Baseball play-by-play. Saturday night, we're going to do the game of the New York Yankees. I think the game starts at 7 o'clock p.m. I apologize not to tell you exactly the time start. I think 7:10. Sometimes baseball a little bit freaky with the time, Frank, about that. But we'll see what happens. Where LDP is in the house, big fans of the Buffalo Sabres. Don't know if TP what's going on with the Buffalo Sabres. It looked like they still the pot, but they're still cooking, and they're still cooking. They find a way to find the best recipes, and they cannot get it, Mr. LDP. You Buffalo Sabres, but we'll see what happens over the summer. It's going to be look like a very busy for them at some level. So we're going to move on with what we want to talk today, and of course, the subject now will be the NHL Draft 2025. We don't want to start right away, but first of all, you have a Stanley Cup. Going on, Mr. Frank, and start last night. Excellent game. I don't know if you watched the game all the way, but excellent game compared once you watch the Carolina Hurricane for about 5 games. You said this is going to be boring for a long time. But now with the Edmonton Oilers, the Florida Panthers, great game overall, a great performance. I'm going to give you some information there, if you don't mind. And then you can talking about the review of the game. And exactly what happened. Tresalo is scored a game-winning goal. His third goal of the playoff and overtime already for the Edmonton Oilers. They have a couple of players are right now in the final accomplished this in the last couple of years. Who are they?
I'm gonna go with
one for each team. By the way, one team for one player for each team did 3 goals in one playoff season at some point.
So Verhaeghe has to be in there, right? He was so clutch. I'm guessing Carter Verhaeghe is one of these guys for Florida. Is he?
No.
No. Oh, interesting. That's a good one. I'm going to go with Sam Bennett, but I don't think that's the case.
Okay, so the Florida Panthers, you'll be surprised. Matthew Tkachuk did last year.
Right.
2 years ago, I apologize, 2023.
Yeah, 2 years. Yeah, that's true. He was absolutely clutch in that playoffs leading up to the finals with the Golden Knights. That's
and true. Then after you're going to go there, when you talk about the clutch players, for Edmonton Oilers, who could be a clutch player for them? If it's not McDavid, it's Draisaitl. Now, he did it today.
Yeah, so if it's not Draisaitl or McDavid, I'm going to go with Nugent Hopkins. At least this year, he's very, very solid.
So the answer is Corey Perry in 2017 or 18, I believe. He did it. He had only 2 other players, Maurice Richard and someone in 1939. So I forget the name, so don't worry about that one. But I was surprised when I read that. I never, we hear a lot of, overtime goal by some players and then some clash players, like you mentioned. And yes, he have a 5 or 7 game-winning goal, but it's fun year for he one of the best. Roger is in the house. Welcome back, Mr. Roger from Ottawa. Don't forget everybody to click on the likes. Billy is in the house. Randy Walkman is in the house. Randy is going to go with us in the next couple of weeks for the mock draft, by the way, Frank. So Randy is really into the NHL draft. Randy, you work on this one. Listen, yesterday, the Florida Panthers streak is over. I don't know if you know about the streak we're talking about.
It was a mind-blowing stat that was circulated around these parts on the interwebs yesterday. So is it 31 and now and 1? But it was 31-0 before, was it?
Exactly. 31 straight game, 1 delete at the beginning of the third period. They never lose any game after that. But this is the recipes of the Edmonton Oilers this year. They come back many times during the game. I think during the year was 10 times. They did it already. They come back and then they find a way to get a W. So this will be an indication of what could happen. I believe for me, Matthew was the X factor for the Edmonton Oilers defensively, and he found a way to to tie the game in the third period. I think to get him that satisfied still the defensive, but it's not like the best defenseman defenseman group together. And every time I do the play-by-play, Frank, and then every time they shoot on Skinner, I have no clue. I have no clue what's going to happening there. This goaltender is a bit the Gump Worsley of 2020-25. It's crazy to see him about that. We're a little bit nervous about this. Guy is in the house. Welcome back, Guy. Thanks to Guy with us about that. As you get about, thanks for the news of the Aaron Rodgers. Maybe go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Talk a little bit tomorrow night about that. Bennett, again, 2 goals, 11-12. The controversy goal. Bennett did it. Again, the Carolina Hurricane, I think, is hurt Anderson at some point. Then he did again the Toronto Maple Leafs against Solars also. How do you see the call yesterday? Do you see like it was borderline, or do you see like it was?
It's, you know, if you start calling every single thing on the line on the edge that Sam Bennett does, he's going to spend the whole game in the box. So the referees make a conscious decision to let a certain amount of gray area plays take place, and that was one of them. That was the exact same thing that he's done all series. Right before doing that, he completely blocked Wall. He was battling in front of the net with Wallman, and he completely blocked him. A little obstruction there to prevent him to go get the puck in the corner, and then things happen right away, right after. Same thing there. He just leans on Kulak, just oops, lets himself go and falls on the goaltender. But they don't call these things. So as long as you allow players to play on that edge, on that gray area, they're going to keep doing it. So no surprise there. There's going to be some stuff like that coming over the next few games against Edmonton. Once again, you can rest assured. And teams are going to be happy to give that guy well over $8 million a year, perhaps even next year, because this is the kind of stuff that gets you through playoff series. As Marc Bergevin once famously said, there are guys who get you to the playoff and guys who get you through the playoffs. And Sam Bennett is a guy who gets you through the playoffs with this kind of play.
One thing I know they were going out some print, some kind of money, extra money for Sam Bennett. Will be a really interesting case to follow with Mitch Marner at the UFA because everything expect Marchand, Ekblad, and Bennett are UFA for the Florida Panthers, so they have to take some decision about that. And then you have the special team yesterday make its friends, the power play goal, both team. After Marchand scored a goal on power play on the penalty of the challenge. That was the momentum of the game changing there. But normally, the Florida Panthers are mature, have experience, and they don't play on the hill, but they play with no urgency. They control, they execute the game. But yesterday was really interesting the way they played the second and the third period. At some point, it was outshot like 24-8. This is not the Panthers. Usually they are. And I think it's not happened a lot. But Pobosky, he gave a muffin to the snapshot of Victor Edvardson to get the game right away 3-2. So that helping the others came back in the game. And then after that, you get a goal, tie game goal. And then overtime, it was the beginning of the overtime. It was all about Florida Panthers. Cannot keep that team give a chance to the others to win, and then finally a delay penalty. This is the fans doesn't like those kind of calls, but that's the rules. Delay penalty for 2 minutes, and the others you give maybe 1 time, 2 time, 3 time. If you go 4 time, you're going to get the price on the power play. That's happening. Great pass for McDavid to Tresolo, and he scored his 9th goal of the season, of the playoff for Tresolo. So overview, give us a bit the review of the game, not exactly what I just said, but what you get out of this and what you expect for game number 2 between our guys at 8 o'clock Eastern time going to do a play-by-play.
Yeah, I think if you're the Florida Panthers, I think you're not panicking at all. I think there was a little bit of rust, perhaps. They have been sort of idle for a while as they swept Carolina not swept, but very nearly swept. So they have been sitting for a while, right? So there might have been a little bit of rust there. But still, they didn't play their best game, I think, and they managed to go to overtime all the way to the end of a first period of overtime. So it's not like they got completely blown. It was a very, close call, even though it wasn't their best game. So I would expect that they're going to come out much, much, much stronger on game two. And if you split the series, you go back home. It's easy to go 2-1, 3-1 in your home barn. So yeah, no panic there. And it's a team that has lots of experience. It's their third consecutive final, so they're not going to be phased by a single game or anything like that. So I do expect that it's going to be a bit of a long series there. It might be a lot of back and forth like this. But if you're the Oilers, you have to be extremely pleased with, once again, having contribution from your bottom six guys. I think yesterday one of the unsung hero of the game was Podkolzin. He's a fourth liner, third liner, plays with Arvidsson. Like he's an energy guy, but he was all over the ice. He really made a lot of things happen. The Arvidsson goal doesn't happen without him. A lot of the goals that they've had, a lot of the plays that they had, and the great chances that they had were because guys like these are making plays. Kasperi Kapanen almost had like a breakaway overtime goal. They really were buzzing the bottom six yesterday. So I think if you're the Edmonton Oilers, you don't have to rely as much on Draisaitl and McDavid this year as previous years. So that's a huge, huge reason why they're in the finals. And it's good to see that it's just one game, but even in that first game, those bottom six guys are responding and they're playing really well.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Ron, welcome in the house. Long time we don't see you, Mr. Ron. Hopefully you're doing well. And of course, Ron is a big fan of the Kings and the Utah Mammoth because he lives in Utah. So that's the reason behind that. For that, Jason Robinson, Jason Roberts, Joan Torres, Rick Bonnes, Drake, Patterson, Mr. Patters, said Panthers. About this one, show Barrett is just abolishing et ceux que gueuler Paris when they doing the garbage. Rennie season as a great coach. Yeah, we know that. It's happening here about this. So expectation game number two. I know you talk about something, but do you think the Panthers will bounce back, or you see the Oilers game won the game number two? I know you talk about the strategy or adjustment, everything, but what's your prediction of the game, honestly?
Yeah, I don't expect the Panthers being outshot by some 20 shots. I think it was towards the very end of the overtime game. Like I think they're going to throw a lot more pucks at a very shaky Stuart Skinner. He was solid at times, but you just don't know what you're going to get in him. So I think they're just going to be him perhaps not trying to do the right plays and the extra complicated plays and just get pucks on net, get some greasy goals, a little bit more rebounds, screen the guy. I think it's going to be a bit more simplistic hockey from them because, like we said, the defense is not great. Like they have some good guys, but overall the defense is not stellar, and the goaltending is very questionable. So they're going to play a little bit more meat and potato hockey rather than trying to be a little fancier.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. People, the fans like the Oilers, everything like that. Do you want to know a stat? Think he won game number one, Frank. Is the best seven Stanley Cup Final, all the time series record of the 765. This is very impressive for me. If you gave me, I did not know that. If it was said to me, the ratio will be 600, I would say the maximum 600. 765 is pretty amazing, and including 839 Mark won the starting at home. The winner of the game one has won the past four Stanley Cup. So the Panthers fan in the chat, don't start to cry because they are only a stat, and stats are not always perfect. But are you a little bit surprised about that, Frank, about those information? Because me, I will be off on that one. I'll be honestly, I know hockey, I know a stat, I run everything, but I guarantee you I will be off on that one.
Yeah, and even if it's in the earlier rounds, like the team that wins the first game usually is a favorite, through history. So, yeah, no surprise there, but it's still high. It's crazy how high it is, especially if you're starting at home. The 839 is pretty wild. But yeah, if you're into those those omens and those signs in the air. There's lots going on as well on the internet. If you're if you go back to the fact that Paris Saint-Germain won, and the last time that they won was 93, which was the last year a Canadian team won the cup, you can make those parallels as well. Same thing with as we were saying earlier about this huge streak that the Florida Panthers had, that they didn't lose in a playoff game if they had the lead after one or two period, and yesterday that curse was broken. So there's lots of things to be positive about if you're an Oilers fan. It feels very much different this time around.
Now, it would be really interesting about that. I'm going to surprise everybody. It did not happen a lot of time this, but I want to surprise everyone tonight because Frank is with us. We do the clash at the end of the show, but we don't have no time tonight for the clash because we have many things. But I said, hey, I'm going to ask them a trivia time quiz. It's only one question, and we're not going to give you the answer in the next 10 minutes. You can cheat. You can go AI or AI, or you can go Google to looking about this. But I would like, if you have the answer right away, Frank, you can answer. But if you don't know, you can a little bit later. We're going to come back on that one. So here the question about that, and I'm going to go that way. That's the New York calendars. In honor of the Matthew Schaefer taking over as the GM of the New York Islanders last week, can you name the only team in the league with a longer through since the last time they finished first in their division? Because the New York Islanders will just stretch it back to 1988. You don't have to answer right now. We can wait a little bit. But in your head, do you see a team where they not finished first?
So I'm going to go on a limb here just because they won right around that time. So I'm going to guess that was the last time that they won. So I'm going to go with the Calgary Flames.
The Calgary Flames, 1989, about that. That's a good deal, a good try, I would say to you. About that, Pierre W, I'm sure he's excited about this one. Yamo, welcome back in the house. And then Ron also. And do we wait to give the answer, or can we wait to give the answer, guys? It's not Calgary Flame, honestly, but this blew my mind. Just to give you that. Now, of course, you can talk about Vegas and Utah or Arizona, okay? But since 1988, guys, so we have to think about this one over there. And Mark, welcome in the house. The PW try with the St. Louis Blues, Montreal. About that. So we're going to leave this there. We'll come back a little bit later because we have a busy night, guys. And I'm going to listen to the people to give a little bit more information about that one there. But I think that would be a good question to ask for tonight. And we have other things to talk about this very quickly. And like you do with Marco. Marco, for three guys, he's traveling this week. He said for all of you. And for Frank, he apologized, but he said he'll be back next week on the fire to talk about what's going on. The Boston Bruins named Marco Sturm as a team, as the 30th head coach. A little bit surprised or not about this news?
I don't know that I'm surprised. I think it's not a name people were expecting, but I think we're seeing a little bit more and more of new guys coming into the league, right? So on the one hand, you cannot criticize the fact that there's a carousel of coaches that are being recycled. It could have been easy to go for a Tortorella or a Peter Laviolette or one of those guys, but trying a different thing, trying a different route, it seems to have paid off for a couple of teams, namely, Colorado when they got their head coach Bednar. Same thing with the Canadiens right now, who have a Jack Adams finalist in Marty St. Louis. And same thing with the Capitals, who also have a Jack Adams finalist in Spencer Carberry. So there's a bit of an uprising of newer names, and I think the Penguins also hired a guy who was sort of out of the blue, an assistant coach.
Muse.
It's all guys who have. Yeah, there you go. So it's all guys who have some experience. It's not necessarily guys who are classic, 30-year coaches who've had 6 or 7 teams behind their belt. So there might be something to it. Try to have maybe a new influx of ideas and bring something pressure to strategies and the way to approach and attack the game. So good on the Bruins. I think the other thing too is there could be a signal there that they're going to be committing to a bit of a rebuild here. So that could also be a reason why you don't necessarily hire a top guy. If you're trying to build from scratch and it's going to take some time, there's going to be some growing pains. You're not looking for a results immediately guy. You're looking for more of a let's build a culture, let's build something. The first couple of building blocks for success down the road. So it sounds to me that at the very least it's going to be a reset in Boston, but there could potentially be a rebuild on the horizon as well.
He's not going to a team where it's insecure over there right now. We know McEnroy and Pasnak, but now it's a new way. The good thing about Marco is really good with the young players development. He's been a good resume about that. But me and Randy, we talk a lot, and we thought Mitch Love would be I thought Mitch Love would be the head coach, but they go with Marco Strom. Well, it's a good pick at the end. But I think the big news yesterday, guys, and it was honestly, I don't know if you follow that, Frank, if you see the video also, but the Bill Masterton Trophy went to Sean Monahan, and it was delivered by the wife of Johnny Goodrow. Did you watch the video?
I did not. I saw a bunch of those. I
Yeah.
saw the Kucherov one. I saw the Sasha Barkov one, but I didn't see that one.
Yeah. I suggest, guys, I wish I could play, but it would be a copyright for NHL, so I did not do it. The NHL make the key behind that, Frank, is the relationship Johnny Goodrow and Sean Monahan together, right? And they surprised everybody. They flew the wife of Meredith Goodrow, honestly, to the house at the Sean Monahan, but she showed up at the house. His wife, Sean Monahan, knew already, so they tricky a little bit Sean, and then she showed up at the door, and she has the trophy with him, and she presents the trophy. But after that, she go inside the house, and really touching moment, guys. It's telling you right now, it's 2-3 minutes. If you don't have tears, this is you can see how close Sean Monahan was with Johnny Goodrow first, and how he is with the family Goodrow, Sean Monahan, and that's the reason behind that. So that one, well deserved. I can tell you that he played with Montreal. I think he's a classy man. We miss him honestly, but I think this was a great. I think you cannot give it to any other one of like Sean Monahan, and he got that trophy. So congratulations on the Sean Monahan about that. A lot of people in the chat. Thanks everybody. Don't forget please to click on the likes. We're going to talk this very quickly, everybody, guys. But the CHL, all the junior players versus NCAA. Every day you hear new players going to switching for the junior to go to NCAA. It's all new. You have some kind of the panic mode around. But Bob Ugly believe the next 3-4 years will be a little bit more calm down everything after the couple experience. Some be good, some be not good, I believe, for development because it's completely two different things. When I said that, you have the NCAA where when you're young, 18, 19, at least you're an exception. You don't play, a lot of minutes on power play, on PK, on the 5 versus 5. If you're already a star at 17, 18 at the QM, but you're already going to get all the minutes, everything about that. So they play 68 games, 72 games versus only 45, 48 games in NCAA. It's completely two different development. At the end, you play against the men. At the end, you play against the all day 19, 20, and 16 years old. So it's one thing about that. But you have already some players commit to leave the junior to go to NCAA. One of them today, Caden Lindstrom did it. And you have other players. McKenna is still on the conversation to maybe leave, the Medicine Hat to go to the NCAA. You have Rishney did it today, commitment. You have more commitment by some players. And I think you're here today. Justin Carbonneau, you said, didn't we?
Yeah, I think Justin Carbonneau is also planning to go the NCAA route.
Yeah. So this is going to change the transform everything like that. I don't understand this. You're going to hear more commitment the next couple of weeks for sure. But we want to follow this. I don't want to go deep about that, but we're going to have a subject at some point the next couple of weeks about this because this is going to affect. Look, the NCAA have money; they can pay the players, and those players junior are stuck with that part of there. It's very interesting about this, and I don't want to talk this night, but PLW, I'm sure he's going to get some not information, but I have an opinion on that. And if you talk about Major League Baseball, NHL, they have some kind of the parity where they split the money between owners, right? They split everything, and it looked like it works at the end of the year for all the owners on the Major League on the Major League sport. When you go to junior, it's not happening, and this is not something I don't understand. What you have teams like Quebec Campbell, London Night, where a lot of people there, or Halifax or other location, then you have other people they struggling, but they don't help each other, right? It's a little bit individual owners about this. I'm not like to be against that, but it's a subject I heard somewhere. Uh, I don't know. I watch so many things and I listen so many things, but they talk about this. That's the one thing they don't understand why they don't have those kind of parity in junior. And it would be interesting what could happen in the next couple of years with that situation with the NCAA, the CHL. Like I said, everybody, we won't talk more about this. We don't want to go diving about this tonight. It's not the case, but there's something we'll follow up. A2 is in the house. Welcome back, A2. GF, he said CHL need to start to pay players. If they want to do weeks that won't cut is anymore. They have some kind of une poursuite en anglais, c'est quoi?
Lawsuit.
Lawsuit. And
Yeah, yeah.
yet players did it again. The junior team at some point and the NCAA at some point. So I don't know what it would be with that conversation now with NCAA. But again, guys, we're not going to go deep about that. And finally, guys, NHL Combine in Buffalo. We are at the end. Tomorrow Friday is going to the VO2 maximum test, and Saturday is going to be all its fun test for everybody. But Sunday, Monday, all the players have a possibility to be interviewing by friend team in NHL. And I want to hear a little bit more about you, what you think about what happening. I'm going to get you some comments there, but maybe you can add more comments. We know Frank, you make some kind of write some article. You can remember me what the name of the website. I always mess up the Montreal and hockey now, so I'm doing I'm going to turn around the name, so I don't think
Yes.
that mistake. But
Yes, so there's going to be a piece on there is a piece on Montreal hockey now that I wrote on Carte Bear, and there's going to be another one on Cabano coming up very shortly. But to your question around the combine, so there's a couple things to keep in mind on the combine. So number one, by the way, if anyone's interested on getting like clips and interview moments from the combine, please follow Anthony Martineau on Twitter. He's a TVA sports guy. He usually has very good access to those and really shares and reports back on some of the question interviews he does himself, along as well as some of the reflection of the players on the interviews that they've had. And from what I've gathered from some of his accounts, were the fact that once again the Montreal Canadiens are a team that are very unorthodox with their interviews. They're very high pressure, at least demanding, and the players are often phased by some of the questions that they have. And basically they're trying to really put the prospects in situations where they really have to go out of the cassettes, as we say, like the tapes, where they give sort of pre-recorded answers to boring questions. They really try to get them to think, really try to get a little bit under their skin, trying to see what they're made of. So that's one of the reasons why the combine thing for NHL teams to meet. Now, I see that in your notes you have the notion that Aitchison was not met by the team, but if you'll recall, last year there was a combine where Demidov was available and the Habs did not go, and Kent Hughes afterwards said that he purposefully go to sort of mix up the cards and have people from other teams guessing. So there's also these little mind games that happen between GMs right around the combine. So there's not a lot of stock that you can take from who a team meets or not. I think it's more for them internal notes. And also, one of the reasons they do the combine is to have a sense of where some of the players are in their physical development, not necessarily to see if it's, if you're the best jumper or the strongest squatter or whatever. It's more to see like how much room for growth there might be on you versus are you already fully developed kind of deal. So recall a few years back, Sam Bennett, I think, couldn't do a single pull up and he still was drafted fourth overall. So teams don't really put a lot of stock into that. It's more for, trying to look already in advance at some, preparation, some training that they might have, some training plan or food plan that they might have for the players once they draft them, if they're available. So they have all of that work and all these notes that they can just start going to work with on day one after the draft, rather than doing all these tests afterwards and whatnot. So they have that information that they can use.
Yeah, you're great. Yeah, you're great. And so about that also, like it's difficult to follow the combine because you get only like a little bit what you can hear from friend expert follow the Montreal Canadiens fans. Honestly, we don't have a lot of report from the NHL. I wish they have a little bit more. At least you follow NHL Network. I wish you have more information get out or some kind of live whatever it is. But at the end of the day, they have two reasons. I believe the purpose behind. I don't think so. The result of the test make a big impact for the players for his selection, but at least for the size and the measurement, I think this is very important for them. But also two things. First of all, the interview is the number one reason behind everything for that. The second thing I said to you, I said the chat. I think that gave a chance for all the team to invite their scouting amateurs around the North America or maybe other place to meet all together in Buffalo, and they have some kind of meeting before the NHL draft, and then from that they pick up all the notes. And when you have after that all the professional scout for each team, they meet again probably maybe 10 days before, and they go to meet all the way every single day until the NHL draft at the end. So this is the reason behind that for Buffalo. They do the combine, but like A2 said, like boring, but it's not like to follow up this in the night. You said like testing someone, whatever it is, everything like that, and we get a little bit information by TVA with sport right now, like you just said. But it will be interesting because for the last couple of years, for the people in the chat, you Frank, Montreal has been like 1-5, 1-5. You know what I mean? Like top five, and then pick a guy between 21 last season. Michael Edge, he was supposed to be 26, 27. So they had two fun ways, 33 the first year, but this year's very fun. It's 16, 17. So there's never been on that range for the ranking, for the pick for the Montreal Canadiens. And then they go 41, 49, 79, 81, 82, the top three round pick. So this is a really important week for the Montreal Canadiens at some level. We will see be interesting about that. Like what you just said, I cannot add more. I put the last update for what we heard. I see something maybe 30 minutes around about the Montreal Canadiens maybe not invite some. Oh, you have a dinner now with Dinwiddie. I believe that's what I read about that. So pretty be interesting what happening in this. Nothing more, guys. We can add on that combine, but we just want to sharing with you about this. But I want to finish with. I want to come back. Go ahead, Frank.
Well, I was just going to add too, like, because you say, like, for example, they met Desnoyers, and in all likelihood, there's no scenario where they could get Desnoyers. I don't think that packaging picks is going to get them in the top 5 or 6 this year's draft. But you never know how things pan out, and you look at Cat Hughes, like how many guys from the 2019 draft or 2019 draft did he end up getting? Right, he got Kirby Doc, he got New Hook, like he got a bunch of guys from the 2019 draft because he knew them, and you said it. It's also a good time for GMs and scouting staff to meet players. So there are some things that they can pick up on now that might not be useful at this very moment, but maybe 2, 3, 4 years down the road, there's an opportunity to trade for Desnoyers, and you have a little bit more knowledge of what type of guy and player he is because of those interviews. So it's always something you have in your back pocket. So I for sure understand teams meet a little bit more players than they need to because they have their bases covered that way.
Exactly. And then you have no formula guy for the NHL draft. You're going to make mistake every year or every couple of years about that. You're going to remember one specific player. You know what I mean? You did not draft, but it is what it is at the end of the day. So that's something. We want to finish with the trivia time on that one. And another Matthew Dash, the last team to make of course, the NHL finish first position, guys. We have one good answer in the chat. Now, it could be wrong here. I'm going to check again if you don't mind. So, usually, I'm wrong about this, but we have only one did it, and we want to thank him for that answer, guys. Let me back where I'm supposed to be, and the answer, surprisingly, guys, I'm going to remove this one over there. The Edmonton Oilers. This shocked my life. Believe it or not, the longest current through for the regular season division title is owned by none other than the Edmonton Oilers, who have not finished first since 1987, despite appearing in the 5 final and winning 2 in that span. About that, are you shocking like I was?
Yeah, it's surprising, eh? They had so much success in the 80s. That span as well. So yeah, I don't know. Go figure. But it goes to show, like every year too, like the President's Trophy gets booted in the first round. So regular season and playoffs is two different things. So it's better to win in the playoffs than to win divisions and get booted out.
RJ Calabro was the winner of that one. Congratulations, Mr. RJ Calabro. And the people talk about the NHL Draft formula they changed this year in LA, and everybody be around their own facilities. And it looked like they're returning next year. Just like they got a lot of complaint. They're returning next year back at the last formula. I did not confirm 100%, but that's what I got at some point. But I don't think so. It was never been confirmed from the NHL. So I just want to sharing this with you. But yes, A2, me too. Like this, I will be wrong again on that one for sure. Add news for the Montreal Canadiens. And we take a time with Frank and people in the chat. There are already some conversation the last 48 hours. The Mike Madison contract. If you see what the Montreal Canadiens, we know is a bit, I call it a black eye. I don't know how you call it. En français, on dit le mouton noir des partisans des Canadiens de Montréal. Mais Mike Madison, but also Lane Hudson. Every year, guys, when you are on your final year contract, the date of July 1st happening, the Christmas day of the NHL for players, the UFA. But you have also everything can start to negotiate with the players for the final year contract to give them an extension. And that's happening for Mike Madison and Lane Hudson. You have other players. I don't want to get on those other players. So, Frank, I know you've been there, been with us for 2 weeks. I'll make a video about Lane Hudson. I would like to hear from you. But let's start with Mike Madison because you get some fresh news, everything like that. You hear more about Mike Madison. And then we're going to go back with Lane Hudson after that. So, what are your expectations and what do you see and what do you think it will happen with Mike Madison?
Yeah, there were some talks that he was at the combine and he met with Gorton and Hughes. This is hearsay from my end, but perhaps it is to discuss, preemptively an extension. I don't know. It's an interesting one. Mike Matheson, I think, had a fantastic year 2 years ago. Last year, he was okay. He had some good stretches too. There was a good stint where he was playing on the right side to Lane Hudson, and he looked good for a good time. So there could be a place for him on the right side if they're not finding the right solutions either internally or externally. And sometimes it's better to go with the devil that you have than the one that you don't know, right? But I personally think it probably was a mistake not trading Mike Matheson last year before the season started, where his value was probably at an all-time high. I think the second best time to trade him would be this summer, especially if you're looking to get legitimate second centerman. You're going to have to give players that can play now. Some teams will be looking for that. For example, there was some talks that the Buffalo Ottawa trade that sent Dylan Cousins, Montreal were very much interested, but they didn't have a player that can join the roster now that could play. They were not looking for defenseman or Matheson, but they could not offer a Josh Norris. They couldn't. Kirby Dach was injured. There were no other players of a similar caliber. And so a team that you trade with might be looking for a player that can help now. And this is where perhaps Mike Matheson can be of interest. So I don't know what the team is going to do with Mike Matheson. I know he's a local guy. I know they traded for him, this management. So there's, they like him. He's got an A on his sweater. Like they definitely value him and his leadership as well. So I think they probably want to keep him, or at least try to keep him at a good salary. But in my opinion, I kind of hope that this doesn't materialize, especially with the slew of left-handed defensemen that we have, and the fact that on the right hand, it was okay for a stint, but it didn't look too great on the long run.
Yeah, would be very interesting. If you make a deal with him, it would be what, 30, 31 years old, maybe at that age. What you would be your, or what it would be your deal?
Well, what will he be looking for? Because that's the thing too. Like if you know that you're going to be, probably signing your last expensive contract, he might still sign a post 35 contract and for some smaller amount. But the fact is, after 35, you cannot buy out, or at least there's some penalties if you buy out players if you sign a contract past 35. So he's probably going to be looking at a contract that takes him beyond age 35. So that means at least 5 years. I don't know that I'm comfortable giving a 5 years contract to Mike Matheson, who has been serviceable. I don't want to shoot him down and say he's useless. He's been good and he's provided great hockey for this hockey team. But I don't know that he's a guy that can help you when your cup window truly opens, which is, maybe a couple years from now. I think he's going to be much, much older, and what he brings now, I don't know that he's going to be able to bring the same level of quality play. He's helpful, he's useful, but I think he's one of those guys that probably a better idea to trade him before you sign him for too long and then it hurts you.
A great point about that. Honestly, me, I go with 3 years only at $5 million per year. I know it's going to be under, but I think they will give him a little bit like David Savard did with the Montreal Canadiens at 34, and then we tell him to go after that. To give $5 million per year, I think that's a good amount. He's at 4.7 right now, and the key behind that about the contract, guys, at the end of the day, it's more about the way they let him play with the Montreal Canadiens. The next 2 years, starting next year, they will have to find a way to cut his minute and become more like a 20, 22 minute, 23 minute maximum per game, and not to play 25 or more. So we know the developmental players like Leganson, Kaden Coley, but I think for me, I will go a little bit more on the side where can you say, look, we're going to give you a $5 million. At the end of the day, the money is not like a big, huge amount for $5 million for what Mike Matheson does. It's more like a second pairing defenseman. If you look about the contract, the fourth lane, it was what, at 5.7, if I can recall it. He signed a little bit longer, 5-6 years, and he was a little bit younger. But I think Mike Matheson, I think at 3 years, I find would be a good deal. Reynolds now, I make a good video about that. The fun way they make about how they approach the Lane Hudson contract, anything like that. So it would be, I don't want to go a bit deep with that. But the question I will ask you for you, do you think he will go with a bridge contract, 3 years maximum, a 5 to 6 year, and middle long term, a little bit like Quinn Hughes did and Ken McCarr at the second contract, or they go with the Sanderson, the Eskinen, the 8 year contract, Zader, we did on the one side. 3 option, the short contract, or the middle contract or the long-term contract. Don't worry, don't worry about the money. Honestly, I don't think so. It's big. It's more about the how you see the contract of Leonard at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think they're going to try to get as many years as they can, because you know what you're getting. Like he was consistent all year. Like he took off after the first, say, 10, 15 games, like he never looked back, and he still kept going in the playoffs. He was, offensively, I think he got the most points out of any Habs in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. So he is a point getter. He's a point getter defenseman. He can run a power play as a rookie. You have to sign that as many years as you can right now, because it's just going to go up. The cap is going to go up. If you sign him for, say, 3 years, in 3 years, if you try to get him for 8 years, it's going to cost you. So you have to go with term as much as you can right now. As terms of AAV, I agree. It's hard to say because of the cap. Like, we haven't seen a lot of those new contracts being signed right now, for the new projected cap. We saw Brock Nelson this week, a bit of a hefty price there, but I think we have to sort of adjust our vision of what's an expensive contract with the fact that the cap is rising. It's more the percentage, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that before the puck drops in October, that he is the most paid Habs player on this roster.
Great point about that. I don't think he's going to join the $10 million. I see Hudson minor like below $10 million. About that. If you look about other contract, I know you have an extension money is coming, but I feel like they will give him about. I don't see 10 million. They have not many. I think Dallin is one of them. Maybe miss another one. But McEnroy at 9.5, and Eskinen is this area. So I think that will be the way to see that. Now maybe the second player is going to join the 10 million will be Quinn Hughes, the next, and Ken McCarr. But otherwise, I think Hudson is not there yet. And I think he's going to get, and at 8 years, he still have another opportunity to get another long term after that. So I think he's going to go at 8 years, about 9.5. That would be my guess. A lot of people comments in the chat about that. And but we'll be interesting. For Mike Benson, guys, I still believe 3 years at $5 million. We'll see what's happening. So thanks, everybody. Don't forget, please, to click on the like. We're getting to the NHL draft, guys, so don't worry about that very soon. But we want to give a bit more information what's going on with the Montreal Canadiens. First of all, guys, the 12-year Lions are on the East Coast Hockey League. It's a double A if you compare this to the minor league baseball. The East Coast Hockey League, the name of the trophy at the end, it's not the Stanley Cup, of course. So the Stanley Cup NHL, you have the Calder Cup and AHL. It's confusing when you talk about the Calder Trophy for the Rookie of the Year for the people. But on the East Coast Hockey League, it's called the Kelly Cup. And the 12-year lead now, the final over the Toledo Woolly. They won 3-2 yesterday. And they still have two more games in 12 years. So we'll be interested in what's happening there. It's a tight series. It's not a easy series. Best of 7. And we'll see what's happening. 18 months ago, that thing will be almost full at 12 years, move out the 12 years, go somewhere else. So I think you have to give credit for the guys in Charles about this. It's Curse. I don't know his last name. Is Rick Curse, something like that. But he does a good job over there. And good luck for the Lions. We don't want to go talk about this more. We want to talk about a little bit more about the Laval Rocket review 2024-2025. It was the exit today. When I got about the exit, guys, every player have an interview and have an opportunity to get some answer, some question and answer about that. Many things happening during the day. We don't want to get a lot of time there. I don't think so. Because the purpose of the show is honestly is for the NHL draft. But the bilan, it was really good for Pascal Vincent, 45 minutes. So just give you an idea. Then after that, Frank gave you a little bit more information about that. It's about Gignac. Gignac is UFA. Constant maybe to leave the team, go play in Europe. That's one player. Offenmeyer is another one for the Montreal, for the Laval Rocket, where I know Connor Hughes is going to be out. Dauphin signed already a contract. Now, IHP is undecided what's going to happening. Honestly, you have the player like Logan Mayo, Owen Beck. They talk about next season. I believe for me, Logan Mayo, Joshua Roy has to have a really important camp. It's coming for them. How are they going to be ready? Would be interesting for that. David Rebacker talking about his recovery at 99.5, but he still has some kind of knee, how you call it, like la raideur dans le genou. C'est like he has some kind of the knee.
Stiffness.
Yeah. So it's not a concern, but it's something you have to pay attention a bit more for Rebacker. And Professor Vincent, believe he
Yeah, he
will be.
said.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like he said, there was some swelling early on, but
Well,
it
yeah,
sort
it's
of
something like that.
went
Yeah,
away. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly. So we'll be interested what happening about David Rebacker. And for Pascal Vincent, but him also is undecided what's going to happening. He looked like some kind of offer to be assistant coach in NHL. Tampa Bay is one of them. Pittsburgh, New York Rangers, three teams are looking for Pascal Vincent, and he has to decide what would be the best for him. He have no clue. He did not want to give any answer about that. But the option as coach will be on the table for Pascal Vincent. Now he has to decide is it better for him to be around or the head coach of the a specific team. I think for him, he's looking. It's like what he said. If I go there, that direction, I need to know where, but also what I can learn from that head coach. So for me, if an option, no doubt, Tampa Bay Lightning, Julien Brisebois, John Cooper, 9 years, 10 years now. How long he'll be there, we don't know. But Pascal Vincent could maybe at some point, and we know Tampa Bay Lightning, French Canadian name, already some kind of relationship and probably could be an option, or decide to stay with Montreal Canadiens. But how long Martin Saint would be behind the bench, we don't know about that. So it would be very interesting. So overall, great year for the Laval Rocket, the champion of the team of the number one of the regular season. Good playoff until the last playoff, but that's a normal. I think it was really meaningful game for the young team, for the young players. I think they developed, many of them developed. But if you talk about, 2, 3, 4 minutes to build the bilan of the team of front players, what you impress the most. I think a player like a Jekai, Davidson, Witherspoon. But again, Witherspoon is not a prospect for the Montreal Canadiens. William Trudeau. Torbesh get out of this. Kapanen, about those games at the end. I think the playoff, it was a good experience for the young team like the Laval Rockets. So sharing with us what you think about that.
Yeah, I haven't followed the Rocket like super closely. I've watched here and there. I've been a couple of games and watched some of the playoffs as well. But I would say that things that stood out to me, and perhaps this is what is going to be Pascal Vincent's legacy, is I think we saw Florian Jacquet really take some strides this year. There was always a sense that he was going to be a physical presence and that he could be uh, a guy that can put some points as well. But I think we saw that this year. I think he got better and better as the games were on, the season were on. He got more and more responsibilities. He got more and more engaged. And he was like, even if he was on, say, a fourth line, let's call it the fourth line, that he was, he was still getting some meaningful assignments from what I gather. So yeah, it really sounds to me like his legacy might be that he really helped Florian Jacquet become more of a pro player. Whether or not that translates into NHL success will remains to be seen, but that is encouraging on its own. I think he really also helped Caden Primo sort of regain his confidence. He was pretty much shot down when he got to Laval, and he was then able to turn it around and really have a solid season for them, and take them to a conference final, right? So that's also part of his legacy, I would say, for Pascal Vincent. Other than that, like I haven't seen anything from prospects that are perhaps more interesting for the Habs. So, for example, Owen Beck. Like I haven't seen anything from Owen Beck and Laval that really stood out to me and screams I'm NHL ready. Same thing for Kapanen. From what I saw, again, like I said, I haven't watched a ton of games, but from what I've seen, there's nothing there that screams I'm NHL ready. So there might be a little bit more, time that needs to happen for these players to be legitimate NHL players. there's always going to be a surprise at camp. There's always going to be, an injury that forces the player into a chair that perhaps he shouldn't be sitting in, and maybe there's an opportunity that they can take. But so far, there's nothing there that screams NHL ready for me. I would say the same about Engstrom. I would say the same about Logan Mailloux. He had some really solid moments in the playoffs. I will say Logan Mailloux. I was a little bit impressed there. Like I'm not a big Logan Mailloux fan. I think he has some hockey IQ issues here. But from what I gathered, like from the first few rounds, he looked much more solid for the most part. So obviously there's still some growth that can happen here. Defensemen take a longer time. So there's a bit of encouragement there as well. And lastly, what is where was Philip Michar during the playoffs? What's going on there? Like it looks like an absolute bust. This is year 2 in the HL, I believe, or was it his first year? Is his second year in the HL? Was it? I think it might have been his second.
Go ahead.
Michar, was it his first or second year in the HL this year?
It was his first year.
It was his first year? Right.
Yep.
Okay. So, remains to be seen what happens there. But yeah, it really sounds like North American style hockey is not somewhere where he shines. Unfortunately, that's from all looks and intents, it looks like a bit of a missed pick there. So yeah, well, let's see what happened there. But it sounds like this is the kind of player that's just gonna disappear into Europe very early on into his career. Whether he has a stint in the NHL, whether with Montreal or some other organization, remains to be seen. But yeah, so far, not much to be thrilled and encouraged about that. And I guess lastly, Fowler, we'll see next year. I'm really curious to see who gets the net. Dobesh for Primo. What's the situation in Montreal and Laval? But what we saw from Fowler, great couple of first games and then not so great games afterwards. But it's going to take some time. Goaltenders and defensemen take some time, and then Reinbacher then is the last one I'll talk about. But yeah, I think we saw some really solid flashes from Reinbacher. The question always remains, can he do 82 games in the season? Can he be healthy? I was a little bit discouraged when he got injured at the start of the last season, but I will say from some moments that I've seen with him this year, he looked very solid. He stood out to me in the AHL at some time. So there might be something there. It's not completely. It would be crazy to call it a write-off right away and as early in this career. But yeah, I'm a proponent that he's probably the most NHL ready defenseman in that team, but that doesn't mean that he will make the team. It might give a shot to Mailloux if he's still with the organization next year, or if not, he might get the shot. But yeah, I think he has a more NHL prone game. I think he would gain Marty St. Louis' trust much quicker than Mailloux might. So for all these reasons, he would make a lot of sense to make the team at camp, but they might really be careful and give him some more AHL time before he makes the jump. So we'll see what happens in the camp.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting what happening. Like, it's not perfect for everyone. I think some, like Rebecca, maybe one more year, Mailloux would be another year. I think the training camp would give us an indication. I think Montreal Canadiens would love to have at least one right defenseman from the Laval Rocket helping them for the upcoming season. I think Oliver Kapanen, he was in front of all of the forward at the playoff this year. It would be interesting to see what will be happening with Owen Beck. The development for me, I have a really impressed for Florent Jacquet. The year he got. Jared Davidson was under the players where I feel like this kid was like, wow, impressive. Obviously for Mizar and Kidney, not looking good. Sean Farrell played a 2 fun season. Like he played one season, but he played 2 fun season and 1 season. But he can see against Charlotte now, like many others. the physicality, the 5'9" show up at some point. But he's so smart. The kid is so smart. He have a really good hockey IQ, but still time. I think not many of them is going to make the roster for Montreal Canadiens. I think it's more about the right defenseman side, what it will look like. And one player I did not, you talk about this, I apologize, and so the people in the chat at the same time. I think for me, one player was impressed about the playoff was Adam Ekstrom for the Laval Rocket. Obviously, he's a left defenseman, but he played a lot on right defenseman. So you have to, I don't say they will go there because, it's hard to play one run right RD. I still believe Montreal is going to make a veteran right defenseman. I believe that'll be to take the Savard spot. But it would be interesting what's happening for that. So good for the Laval Rocket, guys. We don't want to spend too many time here about that. We want to share a little bit what's going on with the Laval Rocket. We have more time to talk about everything, guys, because we have all summer to talk about the Montreal Canadiens and everything like that. So again, the people in the chat constantly talking to each other, continue to that about this. Not many, Marco, about the news of the combine today, other than the fact they met some other players. But nothing major, Marco, about that. Other fact, Caden Lindstrom is going to play in NCAA, Marco. So one of the news get out. A lot of people in the chat constantly talking about different things, so that's great to hear that. NHL Draft, that's the reason we are here, because now we want to share a little bit more information. It's not like a total information for each players tonight. I'm going to create some kind of video for the NHL Draft alone about the players. But tonight we want to go a little bit another view of what it looked like, the NHL Draft, what the players are maybe mentioning the most of the time. So I go with the 1st-Round website, and I regroup the name together. So I give them some position, like, I know if the website number one gave me number 4, 5, 6, and then I check number 2, and then one of them a little bit one Nate's friend. So I regroup them on Fancier. But that will give you an idea what they look like. And Frank, the reason with us, is going to talk about the NHL Draft for the Montreal Canadiens more specifically for them. Talk about what they're looking for, what he think is going to happening, and maybe we have a couple of traits or not. But we'll be interested what you hear from Frank, guys, in the chat also. Like I said, we're not going to talk about all the players one by one. If you have any question in the chat about players, the time Frank, and I post Frank sometime. I cannot follow you and follow the chat, but don't worry. In the chat, we have a
super chat.
We have a super chat, Frank. I don't know if you've been dancing before in the past, but you can let me watching this because we have a super chat. We did it again. Billy did it again. Thank you. Get good cab. He did it again, Mr. Billy. Thanks so much for the super chat. That goal, the Billy we gave to David and Marco for their job as a co-host all year long. So both of you get an assist on the goal of Billy. And Frank, I'm going to give you, I will tell you one thing, you did not expect that. And for the people in the chat, I fell in love to play pool, Frank, for the last 3 months. So I start to play pool left and right, and tail end, you have to pool table everywhere. And we have a group of people from Canada and Quebecois live in tail end. So you have a different area, and they regroup 2 times per week, Thursday night and the Sunday night, and they go at one specific bar. They have a dinner, everything like that, and it's free for eat, everything like that, and you pay the consumption of your drink, everything like anyway. Short story. So the last 2 months, I go afternoon with one guy from Quebec. Is very very good player, and I start to learn more about him, everything like that. So last night was my first time to go there. They have 24 players, and it was not like you can play 9. So I don't know if you know pool a little bit, but play 9 is a killer 9. It's a 9 ball, and you have to go to kill the ball one by the number 1, number 1, number 2, number 3. And to win, you have to fill the number 9 at some point. At any moment, you can have a combination, but you cannot take the 9 and go there. You scratch the 9, you bring the N9 out. Anyway, at the end of the day, first time last night. But I won a tournament, Mr. Frank, last night. I had a big $100 money came on my pocket. One cost $5 to participate. about that. Again, I show up, I shake my hand
Well
to
done.
people at the beginning. I said, look, my name is Frenchy. Don't worry about me. I don't play a lot for maybe 2 months, 3 months. So I said, don't worry about me. I just want to learn everything like that. And then every time I was playing, they would put win this game, would do this. Like you hear that in the back, like he's a liar. He lied to us. He's played for many years. My buddy Guy teach me, and he shake his head like, how you can play like that right now? Like, I don't know. Some nights like anything else, right? You play a game in this sport, and that night it works very well. So again, so it was fun. They give you you get a picture from the bar after that. The bar is owned by the Finland guy, really big hockey fans, by the way. So it was good to be there for the first time, and we speak French, and you have a few people from Canada outside. They speak English to be there together. So it was a good night all to be there and showing that. But not about the pool finish first, but it's first more funny to be with a lot of people. I was shocking to see many people live from Quebec, live in Thailand. I did not know. Maybe two guys I knew, three guys. That's it. The rest I didn't have no clue who they are. And but it was a good night to do that at last night. So again, NHL draft, guys. Here we go. I'm good. Are you okay, Frank? Because you said that I exposed all the name, and then you can
Yeah,
we can
go
go
for
from
it.
there. So I gave guys from Sierra. Sierra 1, example, Schaefer Misa. Sierra 2, Fondel, Martin, Hagens, Desnoyers. Sierra 3, Merca, Martin, O'Brien, and McQueen. And then Sierra 4, Eglon, Carbono, Etchison, Bear. Then you have another Sierra, Reshny, Smith, Lakovic, Red, and Ensler. And then you have Potter, Coates, Kendall, Spence, and Fiddler. And then you have Castrin, Nesbitt, Wozniak, Ravensbergen, Begun, and Zonon. Now, that group, like guys, that you have first friend people, they are not thinking the same way. Frank, it's very difficult. I could give you five more names between 25 to 32, and you can be right, like more examples. So I did my best. I was really focusing on the area of the between 10 to 20, Frank. But that give you an idea. And they are not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I will give you an example. Let's go with the group number 2 with Fontaine, Martin, Hagen, Desnoyers. We expect them to be between 3 to 8 at the NHL draft at 2025. So I want you to look around about that, what you see. Maybe some player was you impressed. Some people you think is a bit too high. Some player maybe too low for that. And after that, we're going to jump in on the Montreal Canadiens, pick number 16, 17. Some player you expect Montreal can go, or what kind of the direction can use is thinking to draft for the upcoming draft NHL 2025. So here we go.
Yeah, for sure. As you get towards the end, you're right. Like it's just impossible to tier. Like it's so all over the place. I think if you start from the get go, you're probably really bang on with a lot of the outlets. So that checks out. Schaefer, Misa, I believe are going to be 1 and 2 in that specific order. And then your second tier there is probably going to be the rest of the top six. I think your top six is pretty much bang on. It's going to be a different order, most likely. As you said, it's not in order, but I think the right names are there. Frundell is a guy that a lot of people will be very interested about. He's got some high potential there. Martone, I think a lot of the scouts are really divided. I think some people might have him really high, some people might have him really low. Like he's a bit more of a there's a bit more challenge with his position there. So it's not entirely impossible that he slips outside the top six, but I think it's very, very likely that he gets there because the tantalizing package of size and scoring touch there. A lot of people mock him to as early as number 3 for Chicago with the allure of mixing him with I'm blanking, but Connor Bedard. There you go. So that's going to be interesting to see where he falls in that group. Other than that, I think you're pretty much bang on. There were a couple knocks on Caleb Desnoyers, who's had a bit of a struggle towards the end of the playoffs there, but I think it just came out today that he was playing with like busted wrists for most of the season and still managed to drag his team to the playoffs there. So I think it probably will even help his stock now that there's a medical report that will attest to that. But yeah, your top six I think is pretty much bang on. Other than that, McQueen is going to be an interesting one because there's a very exciting package of size and skill, but there's some question around his potential, to be honest. Like the skill set that he has is maybe not as high end as some see. And also, he's had a lower back injury that's kept him out of playing for most of the season. So there's going to be risk. A lot of people make a parallel with Caden Lindstrom. However, from all accounts, it sounds like he's not as talented, like his ceiling is not as high, but his injury is probably not as serious as Caden Lindstrom might have been. That also remains to be seen, obviously. Same goes for Murtka. Murtka is a same kind of situation where the package, the size, and the skating is enough to bring attention, but there's no really like high end or elite skill that really stand out. Like he's got a good package, and scouts get excited and fans get excited about it as they make a projection. But there could be a case where it could probably, you know, on talent alone, he could drop. Like if he was not 6'5" or 6'6" or whatever he is, he probably would be a tier lower. But because of the size and the package, he's going to be very interesting.
I think, Frank, I just want to add one for Merca. I think Merca, I think about Andrew K. Miller for the New York Rangers.
Keandre Miller?
Yeah, that's what I see with Merca. Like not a lot offensive side, but really good on the defensive side. And sometimes Miller can surprise you with a play like, whoa, what is coming from, right? So this is what Merca did all year long, guys. Like, but he has potential. I think he'll be a top 10. I think the Buffalo Sabres, if I were Buffalo Sabres, I would not take any other name. If the name is on the board, I'm running to the stage to pick this guy because he would fit and the lineup of the Buffalo Sabres as a right defenseman. You can see that team does not have anything there. That's the reason maybe he can get out a little bit early, like because of that situation, like you just mentioned about him. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think that's my feeling about him.
No, I think you're right. They have nothing on the right side, right? There's not much going on. The problem with that is I think he's probably 3-4 years away, if not more, from being like a solid NHL defenseman. And I think if you're the Buffalo Sabres, you're probably hoping to fix that issue much faster than that. So I don't know if I'm the Buffalo Sabres, I'm probably looking to trade the pick and get a right side defenseman that can help me now, rather than build something for years to come. So you're right. The fit is fantastic for their needs right now, but hopefully by the time he's an impactful NHL player, they have addressed that area. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, he's the top ranked right-handed defenseman there. So there's always a premium for that position. Teams are not afraid to reach a little bit for that position to make sure that they have it covered. So whether it's Buffalo or someone else, there's a very, very good chance that he's gone in the top 10. You're right.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, we could start about the Canadiens because I think that's sort of like the group that I highly doubt anyone will slip outside of the top 15. But then after that, when you get into that fourth and fifth tier, I think that's where there's a good chance that at least one or two of these players are going to be there for the Canadiens, and they're going to be very happy to grab. And I really think there's a really natural fit for a guy like Carter Barrett in Montreal. The question will be whether or not he slips. The big knock on Carter Bear is the fact that he's had an injury on. So he it wasn't severed, but it was lacerated. His Achilles heel. Okay, so there's a few players that are much older than Carter Bear who've fully recovered from that injury. We're thinking Eric Carlson, Max Pacioretty, to name a few. And there are some players who had that when they were a bit younger, like Tyler Seguin, who've recovered very quickly and were still effective after the fact. So the fact that it's not a full tear and it's a laceration, we don't know the extent of the laceration, but from all accounts, this is something he's now fully recovered from, and that should not be a major hindrance. That said, there are some players who've had some struggle with that. And there are some concerns about the fact that skating was not necessarily Carter Bear's strongest skill. And now that could hinder that. So that's a question. So there's always going to be that in the back of your mind, but know for a fact that the combine and all the interviews are for that. The Canadiens medical staff are going to do their due diligence. And if there's no cause for concern, this is a guy who probably would have been ranked in the top 10 if he didn't have that injury. So if he's there at 16, especially if you have 2 first-round picks back-to-back, if they don't trade the picks, if they still have both of them, for example, it's much easier to take a swing on a guy like this and then maybe go for a safer pick with your second round, with your second first-round pick, right? So Carter Bear is high motor, high intelligence, high IQ, compete. He's in the gritty areas, right in front of the net. He doesn't circle around and hold on to the puck for minutes. And no, he does quick passes, 1-2 touches real quick, dumps it in, 4 checks, comes out of the boards with the puck. He's some people I see in the chat, there's a bit of a Brendan Gallagher, but I think there's more skill there. I think it's closer to what TJ Ginla was last year. Even a guy like a Ryan Leonard a little bit. There could be something akin to a Sam Bennett a little bit. There's a little Ryan Hartman in there. There's a grittiness. There's a toughness. He's not the biggest guy. He's I think 6 foot. He's not 6'3", but he's not 5'10". So he's got a decent size. But he's relentless and he's a forechecker. You're gonna adore him, even if he doesn't pan out as a top 6 guy. He's gonna be a meat and potato guy that wins you games. He's going to be a guy that his ceiling is fantastic, but his floor is also great. You have a very projectable player in Carter Bear that could surprise you with his skill as well. So yeah, there's a real fit for Montreal to get a guy like this who's a bit gritty, who's a bit more like a blue collar type of worker guy that could complement a top 6 or be a very serviceable middle 6 guy. So that's for Carter Bear. There's a bunch of interesting names as well in there. I think Aitchison is going to be another one. Now Aitchison, the biggest knock is going to be that he's a left-handed defenseman, which Montreal has a zillion of. But you're getting a very gritty, once again, if there's any lesson from the Montreal-Washington playoff series is you have a little bit of lack of grit. So bringing those guys in can really help cement that in the future. So Aitchison could really fit that mold of gritty, hitting, strong, annoying, with swagger. There's a little PK Subban in Kashan Aitchison. He's a very solid, gritty defenseman that can score. He's leading his team, I believe, in goal scoring as a defenseman on a draft eligible year. So it's nothing to scoff at. He might not be the most he might not be a prolific scorer at the NHL level, but there's a shot there. He's basically if you think about what people want Logan Mailloux and see what Logan Mailloux could become, he's that already. He's a bit he has those same sort of defaults of like some questionable defensive moves here and there, some bonehead stuff going on at times. But he's like in a very similar mold of Logan Mailloux with a bit of a different approach and attitude. But he's a fighter. He can showboat. He can really like bring the crowd into a game. So this is the kind of guy that you probably want in the playoffs as well. Once he figures out some of the junior stuff and starts to develop a pro game. So there's an interesting gamble there as well as sort of like a middle first round pick. This is a punishing defenseman that can really make you pay on the score sheet or by hitting you right in the center ice. So something really interesting there. And then on that same group, I think Eklund is likely to be gone a little before. He's very talented, very very skilled, but very small as well. Like he's a bit of a like smaller European winger, which I have a feeling Montreal might not be too keen to jump on. So Carbonneau then would be an interesting one in that area as well. So Carbonneau is also gritty. He's built like he's a bit of a like a chunkier 6 foot guy, 6'1" maybe even. So he plays like a power forward at times, but he's really like a skilled dangler. Like his thing is he winds up around in his zone and then goes coast to coast. Like he dangles his way through the zone. At times, this is a situation where you can have a bit of tunnel vision, and it sounds like he's a little bit selfish there, and like he holds onto the puck, tries to dangle 2 or 3 guys. To be fair, most likely because he gets away with it, and I'm sure the coaching staff there in Blainville-Boisbriand allow him to have that longer leash because he's so effective. But this is something that he's probably not going to be able to do as much in the pro ranks. So he's going to have to sort of choose his moments, tone it down a little bit. But there's a lot about his playmaking ability, his lethal wrist shot. Like he's a goal scorer through and through. But again, like he's a dangler. He can really control the puck in the zone and like make defensemen look silly. So there's a really interesting winger here again. So that's also the other thing about these players is Bear and Carbonneau probably end up being wingers. Carbonneau for sure, Bear most likely. And even guys in the lower ranges like Lakovic are most likely Reshny as well. Like Reshny is very small. So likely all wingers or left-handed defensemen, which is something Montreal has sort of plenty of. They're lacking centers and right-handed defensemen. So where they're going to be picking is maybe not the best spot to be to look for position. You're going to be looking for best player available and then figure it out down the road. So that's probably going to be the philosophy if they end up drafting with those picks, if they haven't traded them. So that's for these guys. On that lower tier there, and Coach, I don't know if you wanted to jump in and add anything before I go to a lower tier.
For what you all said, you focus on the Eglon, Carbonneau, Etchison, Bear. I think on that group, I think at 16, 17, only Bear could be there. Etchison will be out before that. You look for me, Romanov. Carbonneau is a case where it's a bit asterisk or something they would have to be careful. Eglon will be gone already. So for me, Carbonneau, Bear on that one. I think nobody talked too much about Reshny at 16, 17. Smith, another left defenseman. The kid is so smart, so good kid. If you know the story about Smith has been like 10 years old. Follow the program of eating well, lifestyle well, go to bed early, eat a protein shake, go to gym, he practice Gary Roberts and with many other NHL players. So Smith is very smart. Again, left defenseman will be interesting. Lakovic, for me, I take him over Bear. And the only reason I said that, Frank, because I think Lakovic had the ceiling, top ceiling. I'm talking about the top ceiling. Could be first line Lakovic. And I say it's going to be a first line. It could be a first line. Bear, I see more like a middle second line or a middle third line compared to Lakovic. 6'4", 6'5" versus 6 foot, 5'11", 6 foot. That's another advantage for Lakovic. I believe Cameron Reed is another left defenseman. Logan Ensler is a right defenseman. It could be where the 17 could be one for him, but I'm not sure about that. Potter is the most skilled player for all the names you see on the board right now. What a potential for the Montreal Canadiens. The problem is 5'10". That's the only thing about Carter Potter bucket because this kid, you talk about skill, we talk about handle, second lane, and everything. Potter is maybe the best one over there. On that list, guy, for me, I see after that is Michael Spence. On that group of the we see in front end. A lot of people, few people talk about Brendan Coates. Honestly, I didn't follow too much him to give you like a good point about over Lekovic, Aubert, everything like that. But Spence is the one there. The last five over there is that Ravensbergen is a goalie. I don't see Montreal pick up a goalie at 16, 17. Not because it's the number one, because there are many goalies after that little bit later you can get, and they are all in the same boat. So I think Montreal will wait for that position. Newsbit is really interesting case. Is 6'4". His skating is a bit more slow. But we hear that name for Luc Robitaille, Tata Foley, those kind of name like that. It's just he grow very quickly in his bit. Like he got like 3 inches back like in 6-7 months. So his skating is solution about that. Castrin, I don't think so. Will be 6'6", 17. So I put his name there. Zanon is more about a little bit later. Wozniak is the same thing right there. So for me, it came for a couple of players right there. Bear, Lakovic, Rishny, and Spence of the 5 players. Now, we're just talking about forward, right? Are they going to jump in on the left defenseman because they think they're more talented and they feel good? I think for me, Ed Shedson is really the number one there. No doubt in my mind. Followed by Smith and Cameron Reed after that. Now, Logan Ensler is a right defenseman. He does not have a good year in NCAA. The first 5 months, I would say to you, have a better second half of the season for Ensler to adapt with a better. But Logan Ensler, guy, is a 6'2", 6'3" one day. A right defenseman is going to be a second pairing defenseman. Can they slide there 17? I don't know. Fittler is another right defenseman for that, but I don't think so. It'll be 16, 17 will be a good one. I don't know if you want to add something else there.
Yeah, I'll add a couple things. So Ansler to me is, I think could be a bit of a safe bet, and probably a bet that you take if you're able to trade down. Even like you could probably get him around 20 is probably what I'd say. So there might be a scenario where they could get a bit of a higher risk player at 16, get some assets to trade down, and grab Hensler around 20 because he's good at everything, but he's great at nothing. I find like he's very sort of glue guy, but there's nothing really elite that I find in his game. Like I think his ceiling, like if he hits, like if he becomes the absolute best version of himself, I see almost like a Ryan McDonough type, like a number 3 or 4 guy who's like not overly physical, not overly offensive, good defensively, but not necessarily a good skater. Like like he doesn't have like this big ability that really stands out. So there could be something interesting in a Logan Hansler, but I think at 17 is a bit rich for my taste. However, you were talking about Jackson Smith. I would, for my money, I have a feeling Jackson Smith might be taken before Aitchison. I wouldn't be surprised Aitchison might be available because he's very projectable. He's a fantastic skater, and he's 6'3". Like defensemen like that have such a big projectivity. Like the scouts really love what they could do with a player like that. He might not be as NHL ready as say like an Aitchison, for example, who still has a lot of things to work on. But but I think the package is really exciting there. So I wouldn't be surprised that Aitchison is available at 16, but that Jackson Smith is not. But yeah, if he's there, he's also a prospect that I could be very interested in, even though we have plenty of left-handed defensemen. And to go back to what you were saying about Lakovic, I really like the ceiling on him too. I just hate that every year there's a oh, he could be the next Tage Thompson. You know what I mean? Like there's always this guy who's big but not very physical and has really soft hands, and you were like, oh my god, if he puts it together, he could be the next Tage Thompson. The problem with that is that there's not a lot of Teach Thompsons, is there? There's only one. It feels like he's just the unicorn, is he? So I really like Lakovic. I think there's some really high end skill. I really like how he can receive pucks and shoot them, and the fact that he hasn't really filled out. So if Montreal were to grab him around 16, I'd be very happy. I'd be absolutely thrilled. There's a lot to like about, and there's also like you need to have at least one thing that you excel at. So Lakovic, for example, is awful on puck battles. Like he loses puck battles because he's big and awkward and lanky and not strong, even though he's 6'4", 6'5". But what he's very good at, which is something you can use and something he can hone and become like a very efficient guy at the NHL level, is transition. If you give him the puck in your blue zone, he will bring it in the other zone with possession. Like he's really good at making that. Like he will get in the blue zone like with an arc angle. Like he's just gonna come in a way that gets the defenseman to go back, but he still holds on to it and drifts. So there's a pass that can happen. So there's a lot to like about his game. But the big thing he needs to work on is physicality. Like he needs to put on some pounds and like learn to battle physically. Because right now he's, I don't want to say soft, but let's just say he doesn't win a lot of battles. So it's not going to be helpful. And I see a guy that's probably 3 or 4 years away from the NHL. He's a bit more of a project with a longer run. So this is something you could gamble on as well. I think, obviously when you get to 16-16, there's always going to be some glaring issues with a prospect because otherwise they'd be a top 10 pick. So you have to at least have something you're excited about. And I think there is something to be excited about. Lankovic, Hansler, not so much. So that's why I would probably wait a little bit later, try to get some other picks or like a
It's funny you said that because in the chat, that's what I'm talking about. Them like, for me, Frank, I go with 2 forward.
Yeah,
At least Smith is there or Edchinson, but for me, I go with 2 forward. Like, I don't see anything else after that. Lekovic, if you get Lekovic a bear, there'll be a steal in my opinion. Like, both of them, this is a steal.
If you get any two of Carbonneau, Lakovic, Bear, Aitchison, Smith, like it doesn't matter if they're left-handed. If you get 2 of those, that's fantastic. There's some really good players. There's some really good projects around 16, 17.
They play about that. They're not going to play with Montreal the next 2-3 years for sure. About this one over there. Now, if I had to trade up, how do you think they will get there? So, if they move up, whatever is the way they did it, right? It could be a 2 pick, it could be versus 1, it could be a rate, whatever it is. How do you see that? If you think they will do that way, not the players, but what do you think they can go far? They can go in the draft to move up 1st round. After that, we can go in the next one.
It barely happens, eh? It's like, especially in the top 5, it almost never happens. The one that I think of, like the cost was so the Arizona Coyotes traded up to get Morgan Geekie, Connor Geekie.
Yeah.
Connor Geeky, right? So he was I think 10th overall, maybe top 10 guy, and I think it cost like a, I want to say like two late firsts or maybe like a late first and 2 seconds. I forget. If someone can look up the Connor Geeky trade, that's going to be like a good indication of what it might cost you to get in the top 10. Um, because I don't see anyone in the top 5 going for 16 and 17. Like that's not
Honest,
going to be enough.
honestly, Frank, I don't think so. Montreal go top 10. I think if they move up, it's between 12 to 14 because they're looking for a specific player, and they would pick maybe straight 16 with 49 or 16 41, and they will get from 16 to 13 because they say, you know what, a little bit like Michael Edge, like to
Yeah.
exactly the same principle, but I don't see them to go top 10. Um, it would cost them a little bit
What
more. Only 16, 17 is not good enough. They we have
what
to
was
grab.
it last year? What was the cost? It was 26 and 40 something to get to 21.
On that one, it was 57. It was the pick for Colorado. So it was
So 26
26,
and
57
57
for
to get
21.
21.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So if you go for 16 to 13 example, I think you get a 16, a 49 pick. I think that you can get that one or 41. But I think for me, they will stay there until they see the name of the board. And then 41, 49, they will try to match up those two picks to try to go at 36, 37 to pick a specific player. I think a 41, 39, you can jump in for 5 position on the ranking pick, and that will bring him 36, 35. Because I still believe a lot of players will be good. The 7 next player the second day, I think Montreal, if they can jump in there, that would be great. 33, 34, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, exactly. So if they go there for 41, 49 together, that'd be great. And they'll pick 79, 81, 82. They would try to trade 2 of them to pick up maybe a 69 to 72. Another maybe that's what the goalies could be at that position, I believe, on that pick. I don't think so. They will keep all those 7 pick they have on the first 3 round. I'll be shocked. I'll be
Mm.
shocked.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to be fair, like I think in a couple of weeks from now, we might all laugh about it because I think there's a very strong possibility that the Habs don't pick in the first round period. I think they're going to be extremely, extremely active to get a roster player rather than draft because they have capital that they can use. It's it's a dangerous game. You don't want to like over spark you don't want to like force your rebuild into like the second gear too quickly. It's probably a good thing to draft 2 players with 16 and 17, but there's a strong possibility that both these picks are packaged to address what they need right now, which is a second line center to play with Demidov because you don't want anything that they currently have, and a veteran right-handed defenseman, as you mentioned before.
You're right about that. If I ask you about second round or whatever it is, second round, um, do you have any name you're thinking or a player, 2 player Montreal should targeting, or you would like to get a 41 example if he's still on the board? I don't think so, but I have me a few. But any name you can pick up from us?
Yeah, I don't have a name right now for the second round, to be honest. Like
Okay.
there's a lot more research that I need to do with the later end of that first round pick, first round to really go there. But you were talking about earlier Zonon from the Q as well. Like I've seen some people have him higher than Carbonneau. I've seen some people have him much lower. When you get sort of into that tier, like anything can happen. You can easily slide, especially players from the Q. Unfortunately, in the NHL, don't necessarily have the strongest reputation. They will often try to get like a guy from the OHL or even Europe sometimes. So I think there's a strong possibility a guy like this could be like an early second rounder. That could be very interesting. Like there's a lot of talent there. So that could be an interesting pick in the second round if he slides all the way there.
Yeah, I'll be as honestly. Me have a couple of names, but I think he will not be there 41. But William Moore is really one of them for them. But I think the biggest for me is really Orcroft. I think it can. That's what I feel like they go for 41 to 49 together. They try to get Orcroft around 36, 37. The son of Sean Orcroft is another 6'4", 6'5" body. Plays winger center. The kid is smart hockey. He's from a family hockey, by the way. I think my target for them that will be Orcroft on that one there. After that, at 49 guys, you have so many of them where the name are just like crazy name from Russia, from Sweden. It's just like really, this is what we got there. I don't like the 49. I like 41 pick more the name you can get more good player. But 49, put the name on the hat and you pick up one over there. Now 49, if he's still there, the Russian kid played in MHL. Poronkov, I believe that's his last name. Could be on pronunciation, I'm wrong for sure. But you know me, who I'm talking about, a 6'5" winger. Good, not a bad skater for his size. He played well on the MHL. Can he be there at 41, 49? At some point, some put him really low. But now, the last couple of 2 weeks, he's starting to get him more at the second round or the little bit middle of the round, second round. If this guy is still there, I believe Montreal may be targeting him at 49, in my opinion.
Yeah, there was some smoke there. I know that Grant McCagg was tweeting about him this week. There's always these guys, right? There's always these guys who are outside of the first round, and then by a week before draft day, they're maybe in top 20. Maybe they're in top 10. Like, well, maybe not top 10, but they have a little bit of a hype train coming up as the draft nears. It's not like too dissimilar to a guy like Daniel Bu, who the Coyotes picked, I think, I want
12
to say
overall
10,
pick, I believe.
12. Yeah.
Daniel Butt. You talk about Daniel
Yeah.
Butt.
Yeah,
Is it the
exactly.
year they
So
got Simas? I think this is it the year they pick
Simashev,
Simashev number
yeah,
6, and then they got number 12, the three you talking about early. This is what you
yeah,
talk about. You have Daniel Butt playing the KHL, by the way, right?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But this is a guy like before the draft, like a week before the draft, like
Yep.
suddenly, he was not a second rounder anymore. He's a top 20 guy, and then no one was expecting him to be top 12, right? So
Oh yeah.
there's always a guy like that will slide. Same thing last year. We were talking about what's his name, the big Russian defender that ended up being in the top 10 New Jersey pick. I forget.
Zeliev.
But yeah, there you go, Silayev. Yeah. So
Another name I
there's
would say to
always
you last year, Frank Letourneau, Dane
yeah,
Letourneau.
yeah,
If I remember, we talked him outside the second round, and then he came back from at the end of the first round for that. So I think this is where I believe. Um, Before you leave, I'm not so Carbonneau. Is it, if I'm wrong or right? Like for me, will be my last selection of my top three forward. In my opinion, I will not go. If I look about Lekovic Bear, Carbonneau for me is not there. For me, is like I'm too worried about Carbonneau and Montreal. Pressure, character, what happening with the agent, with Lachance. I emailed Lachance yesterday. He said, I'll be back with you. He put a smile to me. But it's me personal. Does it make sense? Like sometimes it's just the feeling you have. It's not like I'm against the kids. It's just like I feel like I'm a little bit
yeah,
concerned.
yeah. No, I get that, and like ultimately, like whenever a team picks a guy, they meet the guy, they still get a good sense. They talk to teammates, they talk to coaches, they talk to former coaches to get a clearer picture. Like they do their homework, right? So if they pick the guys because they know for a fact that there is no issue with how he presents himself. There is a lot of talent. There is a whole lot of talent there to start worrying too much about character. But you're right, there is some questionable things around him. For example, like he's a little bit selfish. But the pro of that is that he puts pressure on himself to deliver for his team. So that's an asset. That's something you can hone. That's something you can pressurize like a diamond to make it shine in the way you want it to shine, right? So there's a lot of junior stuff. There's a lot of junior stuff that usually stays in junior. So you have to make your due diligence. But I completely understand what you're saying. I think if you start digging around certain players, you might uncover some other stuff as well.
Yeah.
You have to do your homework. That's what you have to do. If you have a solid interview, if you have a good sense, if you had good feedback from other players, from coaches, etc., I think you cannot forego talent for something that can be, a bad memory a couple years from now.
Exactly. Yes, Randy, his brother came for the trade. Isn't it from Los Angeles King, Randy? The trade he came from? Could be wrong.
The what now? Sorry?
Now you talk about Brunswick, the defenseman for London Knight. Henry Brunswick.
Oh, yeah, I think it was the Canucks.
His brother is play. He got the trade from the Vancouver Canucks, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Then he came with Kuzmenko together for who the Flame trade to Vancouver.
Yeah, I think that was Hunter Bruce. I forget, but the high flying defenseman.
It was Lindholm.
For Lindholm, yeah.
It was Lindholm. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So we got the same thing about that. PW, yes, you're right about this. PW, we talk about La Chance. I understand that. It's just I don't have a feeling for Carbonneau, but again, I could be wrong, and I'm okay with that part. But it's my feeling about that for sure.
Yeah, I think the biggest knock on him is how he could be a little bit like pouty and like start to like not play his game when things aren't going his way. Like he's a little bit like almost like a spoiled child a little bit, when things are not going his way, like he starts pouting a little bit on the ice. It shows like he's not playing the same way. But again, like this is stuff that feels very junior when you're like the heart of your team, the only guy that's sort of like trying to do everything on your own. Whereas when you become part of like a pro organization and you have the right support and you're not expected to be carrying your team, you're part of the team. This is the kind of stuff that usually wears out.
Yeah, exactly about that. Look, this will be very interesting what's happening. We have other subjects, but we're going to stop here for the NHL draft. I think we did very good. We'll give you a bit an overview of what's going on. You can see the play. We talk about that. I'm going to follow more, guys. I have, if you want to do, Frank, if you want to send me your email on my X account, I'm going to send you something for you. It's a full draft of one specific website. They give me a permission to send 10 of them to the people. So just put your email on my X account. I will send it to you. It's a PDF. It's about 2,000 pages of the player prospect. So I think that will give you, helping you maybe to have someone. So that's one reason I put the name together, because I use Athletic, I use the Elite Prospect, I use Bob McKenzie, and I took someone else and I put this all together, and that's what the name. And normally the names coming back always together, honestly, but it's not a weak draft. It's not a great draft, but you're going to get a lot of players going to get playing NHL, bottom six, second pairing defenseman. You're going to play in NHL, the third pairing. Their name will be in NHL. It's not like they're not going to play. Many of them are going to play. most of the first round pick, I would say to you, the top 15, maybe 20, they should have a good career in the NHL. In my opinion, Frank. And it says like, the top of the
Every
top.
year,
Yeah.
yeah, every year you get roughly 40, 50 guys who make the NHL. Like it takes maybe a little longer sometimes, but like every draft you get roughly 40, 50 guys who make the NHL.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting, guys. That give us an idea. We want to thank you, Frank, to be with us tonight. Very kind of you to do that. We appreciate maybe, like I said, maybe do a mock draft together with Marco and Randy, something like that, if it's possible, before the NHL draft or a couple of days before. If it's not mock draft, maybe come back and then we'll see if something changed since like it would be almost like 20 days from the tonight. What you expect and what Montreal could do also. So yeah, more development anyway. We want to hear from the Montreal Canadiens, so that will give us an idea. So I don't want to hold you for the end of the show, so I will let you go. But thanks again to be a part of the show. You want to add something? If you have your prediction for Edmonton and Fleur Panthers at the end of the night, it would be what? Who win the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the Oilers on this one. I thought the Hyman injury is gonna hinder them much more than it did, but it looked like it was nothing yesterday. So I think they're on a mission. I think Connor McDavid and Draisaitl is healthy. That helps a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He wasn't
Remember,
healthy last year.
Draisaitl
So
was hurt last year. You remember?
exactly,
Yeah, only three
exactly.
assists, by the way, did not score. How many game?
Oof. 6 or 7. It's gonna be a long series.
Okay. And the MVP. Well, the reason to ask you is because we have about 30 people already gave the prediction. So I'm going to add you in the poll. So who is going to be your MVP?
Back-to-back Conn Smythe winner Connor McDavid.
McDavid on that one. Okay. Not a bad choice about that. That would be great. And Nicholas, you can do the same. Send me an email, Nicholas. I will send you back what I want to talk about this. So, Frank, can wait to see you next time. Until then, be stay healthy, and hopefully the family is growing properly the right way. And I can wait to see you next time.
Sounds good. Thanks, everyone. Happy to be there.
All right. Thanks so much. It was Frank, guys. Father is a great. You can follow him on his website. By the way, he writes some article about NHL draft, everything like that. Guys, I don't know if this is a kind of show Thursday night like that. People is not show up a lot, but I'm not worried about this. For me, it was great to have Frank show a little bit more, teaching a little bit more about what's going on about the NHL draft. I follow this a lot. You can see, I know many of them. Randy is ready to do that. My mock draft will be out on my video very soon, and I can continue to bring everything. Now, what's going to do, guys, for the tomorrow night? We do the Stanley Cup Final. I take a break on my video today. I'm going to come back. There's been news around the Montreal Canadiens, so let's try to get a little bit more fun things. Baseball game: the Red Sox Boston versus the New York Yankees Saturday night, 7 o'clock, I believe. We're going to our first MLB. We have to add some Blue Jays game possible Sunday afternoon. We're going to game some baseball, guys. Yes, I'm not going to the play-by-play. I'm not going to tell you it's a double, a curved ball, or whatever it is. I let the radio guy to do a play-by-play. I will be in the chat. I'll be fun. I think I have a couple of people. I'm not doing this for it's to bring some other new people in the channel. I'm going to do also NFL football next year with Aaron Rodgers, the Pittsburgh Steelers. He cannot stop to play football. He cannot do something else. Like, I don't know why. He's 40 years old. Why he continues to play? He want to be the next Brett Favre. Is it not what happening with him, Favre, for the Green Bay to Minnesota Vikings to the New York Jets? At some point, some players that have a difficult time to say that's enough. I can do something else. But he looked like the Jaromir Jagr at 53 years old about that. So that's happening, guys, tonight. I can wait to see all of you guys. Thanks so much to be a part of the show tonight. I don't know if you have anything else to add, but I will want to thank Frank tonight, the moderator of the Hockey National Show. It was great to see all of you tonight. I can wait to see you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock p.m. The game number 2. Guys, if you want to get me excited, that's the way to see me, because I get excited for Edmonton versus the Fleur Panthers. Great game, the first game number 1. I think this show was great delivery by Frank and all of you. Thanks for being a part of the show tonight. Don't forget, please, to subscribe, click on the like, and become a member of the channel or a member on my new page at patreon.com. I write articles almost every single day. And of course, the only reason we grow slowly, populate the right way, is because all of you are...
You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you.
Here we go. We want to thank Billy for the super chat tonight. Billy, thanks so much. Assisted by Devin and Marco, the co-hosts. We want to thank all of them to be a part of the show during the winter, during the season. I want to thank also Mr. Nartap. We want to ask all of you, keep thinking about Mr. Nartap. It's not easy, but with all the prayer, with all the thought together, we make maybe some miracle for him. And we can wait to see our best friend in Nartap back with us. He will be back. We don't know when, but I know he's going to be back, and I can't wait to see him next time. So guys, keep pushing, keep sharing, try to make that channel grow better, and hopefully we can stay alive more longer on this channel. Without you, it would be impossible. Moderator Luciano Ruan, thanks so much. Billy, super chat. RJ Calabro, the news update tonight was great to see you, buddy. And for all you people be with us tonight, thanks so much. So Randy, we stay in touch with you. I can't wait to see you next time. Until then, be well, be ill. Find a way not only to dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the first half of what? Someone said 2025. NBA Final playoff, guys. I did not turn on the TV. Just give you an idea. I don't follow the basketball a lot. And that's all. The Hockey National Show, the Am Nation, and all the cheese and Thailand. Want to tell you one more thing. We love you, friends. Have a great night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday night. One more day to work, some of you. Then is the weekend. No hockey this weekend, guys. Cheese. Not cheese on the cheese, but the cheese. No hockey, what we do? We do baseball. We don't stop to work. We show up every day. We love to be here. We like to talk to each other. We like to be all together as a friends. And I can't wait to see you next time. So have a great night, everybody. Be ready for the last day. And remember, be a light. You can be a light in this life. And don't thinking you're not important. Someone need you. Sharing a text, a phone call. And don't remember to take care about you people around you. Until the next time. Oh, here we go. It's coming. Booyah! Good night, everybody.